I will not be at home as well later today. But there is some Bremer news that we need to discuss basically. So that's what we're gonna do in this one. Let me check. Let me know if anyone can actually hear me. By the way, because this is on my phone, so I'm not sure about that. But the Bremer news broke yesterday, or actually, it kind of broke a couple of days ago when we discussed the potential release clause in his contract, and I think a lot of people were like, it's it's not true. You know, it's Corriere dello Sport, it's Gazzetta dello Sport, it's all those other outlets out there suggesting that. Let me know if anyone can really hear me. By the way, um, but yeah, we were discussing the Bremer news a couple of days ago, saying that it's Corriere dello Sport, it's Tutto Sport, it's Gazzetta dello Sport. It's not true. You know, there's no way that the club is so naive, you might say, to put out or to put in a release clause in Bremer's contract. However, it's been confirmed by Romeo Gresti, by everybody, that he has a release clause in his contract. The release clause is, it's still up in the air. Let's say it's 60 to 70 million euros. Okay, so I do left that. So it's 60, between 60 and 70 million euros. However, it will only kick in next summer, so 25. Um, yeah, it is something bad on us, but it's 60 to 70 million euros. That's one. It will kick in from 25. However, conflicting reports are coming out today, or even yesterday, excuse me. The news came out that they have gentleman agreement, basically, that if the same offer comes in this summer, they will proceed with selling Bremer. You know, still, you know, Bremer cannot force the issue because it's a gentleman's agreement. At the end of the day, the club still decides. That's one. But today I woke up and the same sources that actually broke the news earlier on the release clause are basically saying that um, there is a clause in this contract that the club can cancel out the clause, the release clause. However, they need to pay Bremer a raise, and the raise is about half a mil, you know, per season or something like that, for as long as he stays under the current contract he signed. So let's say he signed, what is it, 28? It is? Is it 28? So let's say an offer comes in of, or somebody pays a release clause, and Juve can say basically, no, we're not doing that. However, Bremer, for the next 3 years, we're going to increase your wage basically 1.5 million euros over the next 3 years. That's what they can do. However, it's a pointless clause because Bremer says, I don't want, like, I want to leave. You're not going to keep a player who is not happy to stay there. So the clause is just what it is. You know, we can say no to the offer because we can give you a pay raise. Basically, it's, for me, it's a pointless. Let me bring up the chat if I can. Okay. The release clause is basically pointless, or the clause for Juve to extend his wage or to offer him higher wages, that which means that they can cancel out the release clause, is pointless because at the end of the day, Bremer still decides. And if Bremer is like, okay, I'm not willing to do this, eh, excuse me, if Bremer says, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be at the club, I want to play for you guys anymore. If the release clause is being paid or is not being paid, no matter what, Bremer still has a final say, in my opinion. You know, the release clause or not, it's all about that. However, we know that this summer we were going to sell, excuse me, an important player. You know, if it was Bremer, if it was Vlahovic, if it was Chiesa, if it was, name it, basically, we were going to sign, quote unquote, top player, one of your better players. By the looks of it, it's gonna be Bremer. I think it's very obvious that it's gonna be Bremer because we need money. Like, we need money desperately. Like, that's just the reality. We absolutely need every single penny in the summer. It's not good that, let me, cannot read out the chat. Let me see. Okay, so we know that in the summer we were just gonna sign, or we're gonna sell, excuse me, a top player. And by the looks of it now, it's gonna be Bremer. It's gonna be Bremer, and it's not a good thing. I will read out the chat in a second. Because if you look at that back line, we have so many issues, even with Bremer in the squad, because Gatti, like, keep in mind, we're gonna play in Europe, and it should be Champions League, by the way. Like, I don't want to discuss actually the possibility of not playing Champions League. I know that it's a real possibility right now that we are not getting into the Champions League. However, and I will talk about Bremer's prize in a sec. However, that back line needs to be fixed, and I don't want to really talk about us being linked with Buongiorno from Torino, because I think going from Bremer to Buongiorno is just not it. Like, it's just not it. You cannot go from Bremer to Buongiorno right now, because Buongiorno, although I think he has a decent ceiling in terms of he can play at a certain level, he's not up there. And we are going into Europe, and you cannot go from, um, like I said, from Bremer to Buongiorno. Also, we have Diallo, who nobody knows who he's going to be. We still have Danilo. We have Gatti. You have De Sciglio. You have maybe Huijsen coming back. It's so many question marks. But the Bremer one, it kind of caught me out of surprise a little bit, off guard, because the rumors were out there. But I was like, okay, the club's not really going to do it. The club's not really going to put in that release clause. And I will talk about the money in a sec. Let me read out the chat really quickly, because I have no idea how I do that on the phone. Oh, really quickly. Bashar saying, I feel that Bremer is really overhyped. He is. Okay, like, some go overboard with Bremer. When people say he's a top, um, like, five center back in the world, I've seen all those things from Juve fans. It is ridiculous, in my opinion. I don't think he is one of those top five. I don't think he is one of those level players. I agree, and I like Bremer as well. There are question marks. Can he play in a back four? That's a big question mark. Can he do that? My issue with the release clause is, and somebody said earlier on, he's not worth the money. Basically, he's good, says Bashar, but he's not worth 60 mil. My issue is not the price. I know we're not gonna get 100 mil for Bremer, or 90 mil, or even 80 mil. That's not my issue. My issue is that, for some reason, this club is never in control when it comes to transfers of their quote unquote most prized assets. When it came to the lake, they pulled our pants down. Every time we try to sell one of our top players, one of our better players, you always have the feeling the player or the club trying to buy the player is in control, rather than Juve, who should be in control. That's how it came across again. Um, excuse me, when the news broke. When the news broke, I was like, we're again not in control of the situation. Yes, there's a release clause, but we're not in control. Like, if the clause, if somebody comes in and he pays, let's say Manu comes in, and they offer, or they're like, okay, we are gonna pay the release clause, it's done. But when the release clause is not there, and Manu come in, you're like, yeah, that's a price. Those are the terms, basically. We want that amount of money, and we want him to be paid in, I don't know, 2 3 years, whatever. Every time we have these type of signings or like sales, it never feels we are in control. It always feels like, yeah, going through the motion, hope for the best, basically. That's my biggest issue, because if you get 70 mil for Bremer, that's a fair price. I know people are saying, oh, they paid, what was it, 85 or so for Maguire. It's English tax. Like, we paid, I don't know how much for Vlahovic, basically, like, from Serie A. Like, that's how it works. We cannot really compare it. I know we like to do it. He is better than Maguire, obviously. However, that's not how it works. Now, there was a rumor that there was 10% sale for Torino. I looked up the statement, because I thought, I was convinced Torino had a 10% on the sale. I looked up the statement. Juve never mentioned it. Sky Italia mentioned it. However, they mentioned it that they have 10% on the first 40 million. So if we sell them for 70, they don't get 7, they get 4. That's what Sky Italia is saying. So they have 10% on the first 40 million euros. So that's, if it's between 0 to 40 million, they have 10%. And then it stops. If it's for 60, it will only be on the 40 million that Torino has at 10%, apparently, according to Sky Italia. But Juve never mentioned that in their official statement, so I'm not sure about that. However, I think if you sell Bremer, 70, it's a very good price. It is what it is. I know, like Bashar said, some people do tend to overrate Bremer maybe and say, oh, it's 80. You're not getting 80 for Bremer. It's just not gonna happen. So if you get 70 million, the price is fair. My biggest issue is that how are we gonna replace him, because we have so many needs in that back line. Like we have crazy needs in that back line. We do, because what we are right now, excuse me, is not good enough. Like it's already not good enough. I talked about yesterday on a Twitter space, um, that when everybody was praising that back line, remember we were not conceding. It wasn't about the players at the back. Yes, they were doing their job, but we as a team, we were set up so deep. The mindset was top notch in that regard. They were willing to quote unquote die to not concede a goal. It was not solely that back line. The moment the mindset and the intensity drops, and not everybody is making that extra run, making that extra tackle, picking up the runner, that back line gets exposed. It's as simple as that, because that back line is not good enough. If you're gonna lose Bremer in that as well, it's tough, and all the talks about, oh, I would take Calafiori, those were all additions to Bremer. They were like, those were not, sell Bremer, sign Calafiori. It feels like we go one step forward, two steps backwards. That's how it feels basically. But read out a few chats. Let me. Damn early life. Yeah. If it's bad news, I'm not at home, so I need to improvise. Um, Tony saying ciao Ale. Very difficult news to hear yesterday. If Bremer wants to stay, keep him for one more year, and cash in 25. If not, this summer you try and recoup what you can and get Calafiori or Diomande. Now that's an excellent point, because what I said was that yesterday, if Juntuli is like, okay, this summer, and please like the video, people, only 9 likes, so hit the like button and subscribe. We're getting close to 5K. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I said that if Juntuli is this summer, Juntuli is like, okay, I'm done. With Allegri, I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna sign. I'm gonna bring in Thiago Motta. For example, I want a clear plan, a clear identity. I want youngsters to be developed. I want a clear playing style, all those things. Then I'm like, okay, if you're gonna keep Bremer for one more year, and the ideas, or the club knows next summer he's gone. Let's say the club knows maybe we can keep Bremer for this summer, but the following summer 25, he's definitely gone. At that point, I'm like, okay, if you go into a new direction and you bring in Thiago Motta or whoever, I'm like, okay, sell Bremer and start a proper rebuild. Do not do quick fixes, because that will be a quick fix. That would be, oh, Thiago Motta, you have Bremer for one more season. You can build with that for 1 year, and next season you need to switch it up. That cannot be the case unless they say, you know what, you can keep Bremer for one more year, but you also get Calafiori, you get Huijsen back, and you get an extra center back. You can make it work. And when Bremer steps down like next year, you have Calafiori already in the team. You have Bongiorno, I'm just saying something, or Huijsen already in the team. But that's not gonna be the case. That's not gonna be the case. If Bremer stays, they're not gonna think about, oh, next season Bremer is gone, so we need to follow the guy who's gonna lead the back line with another guy in the team. We already bring him in for 1 year so he can learn, be around the team, play a couple of games. That's not what the club is going to do. So my point was that if you're going to move on from Allegri, do proper rebuild and be like, okay, Thiago Motta, wherever, Bremer is gone, we're gonna start all over again. That's my thing. If you know that Bremer is gonna leave the following season, then just bite the bullet right now and keep it going. That's basically what I think. Um, Basha saying true. It reminds me of that really, the grading first Morata deal with Morata. Yeah, that was also a poor deal. Jauri, no, hey Apex. Yeah, it feels like a hostage situation when I need to improve, but it is what it is. Premier news is what it is. My concern is what is our plan with the youth, because Inter are signing experienced players who want to win under Marotta, and what we are going to rely on youngsters who will be sold to the Premier League once they get their experience. And ciao, Rino. we're gonna sell players. Like the news today broke that Nonge and Junior are just on their way out, and Belgian newspapers are saying basically the same thing. Like Nonge to Antwerp is, it can be done at any given time. Like basically, it is what it is. And again, we're not gonna keep every single youngster that comes out of the next gen. But even today, like 2 weeks off, 2 weeks no football. I wake up to watch a presser from Allegri. The first thing he says, or the second thing he says, but it's in the first quote basically, he says, "I'm happy with Junior. He's playing a lot this season." He lied. Like that was a quick lie out of the box. 2 weeks of a break. He played 560 minutes. That's the equivalent of like 6 games. And you still have people saying, "Oh, but like that's 30 minute a game." Rubbish. Like that's not a lot. If you think that's a lot, and if you think a youngster's gonna improve with 560 minutes, you're insane. Also, half of those came in the last 3 games because he was riding bench for months. So I get that no, not all the youngsters are gonna stay, but that's the way we're gonna go right now. We need to recoup money. Players like Sule, they have high value. Maybe Barnechea, like all these players, they have a certain value. The club will look at and be like, okay, we can get money from those players. It's clean. It's insane plus Valenza for the club, because you bought Nange for what? Maybe a mil, maybe Junior 2.5, maybe. Sule, like it's cheap, and the return is just pure profit for the club. So they're gonna do that. They are gonna do that. My fear is that they're gonna push it way too much. I know we're in a bad situation, but what the youngsters coming out of the next gen right now, it's not normal. It's not gonna happen. Like you're not gonna have these crop of players coming out in the next, like that was ridiculous what they assembled in terms of talent. It's not happening again anytime soon. If you watch the next gen and they're under 19s, you will understand it's not gonna happen anytime soon. Yeah. So like 50 minutes against Genoa as a mid-sala, 50 minutes there, and people are like, oh, but like 30 minutes in 2 games. Like people do not read into context. They see 560 minutes, they divide it by 19 appearances and like, oh, 30 minutes? And I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works. Like that's just not how it works. So it is what it is. Um, Max is sinking the ship big time. He's training is tainting his legacy with his second stint. He is like he is. Even in today's presser, he said like I criticism is normal, and you need to accept that. I'm like, man, after Genoa, I've seen you lose your head on live TV. You called out a journalist telling them basically, you're not a coach. What do you know? You just need to ask questions. And now, 2 weeks after, you're sitting there saying criticism is fair. We need to accept that because it's a sport. I'm like, you're lying. Like you're not good at taking criticism at all. Actually, you're losing mind recently when people, or like when journalists try to critique you, you're losing your mind. So I'm like, you're lying. Like you cannot take criticism right now. It's not good. um Let me see, someone mentioned that Fajoli played something like 300 minutes this, did he, in training? Like in training games. um have you already talked about Nonga and Junior? This pisses me off bad. Yeah, I mentioned it. I did mention it quickly. But on Bremer, again, really quickly. The reports are that Juntuli added the clause basically, but he also added that clause I said earlier on. If the the offer is being made, basically the club can say no, but you get 500,000 for the next 3 years more every single season, basically, or like 500,000 now, 1 million extra on your wage, and 1.5 million on your last wage. So, um, that's that. On Bremer, again, like if you get 70 million, it's a fair price. The issue with me is you're not in control again. When we sell players, we are never in control. That's my biggest issue. And when we try to sign players, that's my biggest issue. Like if you go back, the Locatelli deal, like all these deals, it always feels this club is never in control when doing business. That's my biggest issue. And the Bremer one is one of those examples again. But again, if you get 70 million and Bremer's like, I want to leave, it's a fair price. You take it and you move on, basically. Tomorrow's game is going to be a disaster. I think it is. I think I was watching Tudor's presser a little bit before I started the live, and yeah, man, he's ready. they are ready tomorrow, and I think we're gonna lose tomorrow. So it is what it is, I guess. Like, what can you do about that? Um, but yeah, so the Bremer news kind of was it a bombshell a little bit because nobody really believed the sources. That's why I've always said that. Yes, it's Corriere dello Sport. Yes, it's Gazzetta dello Sport. Yes, it's Tutto Sport. And yes, they put out a lot of BS, but they also put out a lot of truth. So that's why we always discuss anything on this channel, and we will make up if it's believable or not believable. But the clause, like, it's believable because it's Juve, but it was not believable at a point where I was like, yeah, surely the club's not doing this. Like the club is not doing this again, I guess, But they did it again. And when we thought, let's say Bremer leaves this summer, let's say Bremer actually goes to Manu, or he goes to, I don't know, whoever wants him. It's like, okay, that midfield needed big time fixing. We have a low budget, excuse me. I struggle to believe the coal miners links, if I'm being completely honest. But I'm like, you need to spend so much money in that midfield, and now you need to fix your back line as well, because you cannot go into Europe with Gatti, Danilo, and Rugani. You cannot do that. Not even adding Bongiorno. Like, it's just not good enough. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the club is um planning to do. We can be sitting here and Bremer is staying in the summer. It could be very plausible that he's gonna stay for one more season basically. But I think if Manu wants a center back and they offer something close to the release clause, I think he will leave, and I think Allegri will excuse me, you will accept that he wants to leave, and they will take the money and move on. That's that. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting on the Bremer one, but it's another quote unquote negative thing on the season, I guess. And tomorrow, somehow, some way, I don't know how, because maybe somebody can look it up really quickly. How many games have we actually won playing at 6 o'clock my time on a Saturday? Let alone play well, just one. Because I cannot recall a good game at 6 o'clock. It is what it is, I guess. And Lazio, they're having a poor season. They lose a lot of games, but the change coach. I think the issue was discipline because they conceded a lot of goals, a lot of stupid goals, in my opinion, as well. They're not gonna be mugs tomorrow. Like they're not gonna turn up and we're just gonna turn them around. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen tomorrow. Tomorrow we're not gonna play fantastic football, whatever. Tomorrow it's just pride. Like, like you won one game out of eight basically. Tomorrow you just need to show up, and it's not about really about talent and technique. It's more about will. Tomorrow is the game. If we talk about man, how did we won that game against Monza or whatever? Like that was a real shithouse win. We take it and we keep it moving. No idea how we won it, but we did it. That's the type of game we need tomorrow. No idea how we managed to win it, but tomorrow we need to win. If we lose tomorrow on Tuesday, Wednesday, it can be 6 points. We can be 6 points just in front of the Champions League places. It's a disaster for this club because the following Sunday it's Fiorentina, and then it's Torino, and then maybe you have Salernitana, but then the bigger team comes in again, Milan, Roma. Like you're playing all those teams, and those teams are not slowing down right now. If you watch at Bologna schedule and Roma schedule the next three games, cakewalk. They're just gonna win. They're gonna win those games, and yeah, man, it's a crazy week. It's a crazy week. First Lazio, then Lazio again on Tuesday in the Coppa. I don't have a good feeling. I don't have a good feeling. I did my preview on Wednesday. You can go out and watch that. I predicted a loss for the first time ever, I think. I didn't even predict a loss when we played PSG away. I said like 2-2 or something, which was ridiculous. But I was like, yeah, whatever. You always have a shot, I guess. I don't think we have a shot tomorrow. Like the way we ended that Genoa game, the red card, the way we played, the lack of intent, like the lack of creating any sort of danger really consistent in that game throughout 90 minutes. Those 2 weeks off didn't help, in my opinion. Those 2 weeks off for me, though they don't make me look at that Genoa game and be like, whatever, we will turn up tomorrow. I don't think we're gonna turn up tomorrow. I think we're gonna be rolled over tomorrow. I'm really convinced about that. Sadly saying, I cannot recall a good game in general. Well, fair point, but at 6 o'clock, definitely not. Buongiorno is a very good. Is very good, but changing Bremer for him is just zero. Is a zero operation. I think he's okay. I don't like. I'm not sold on Buongiorno, if I'm being completely honest. Nor am I sold on Scalvini, if I'm being completely honest. Like the only defender in Italy I really like at the moment is Calafiori, and that's just because he's extremely versatile, in my opinion. We're still going to play the same boring 3-5-2 with Keane and Chiesa up top. Why is Allegri allergic to change? It is what it is. Like I'm not really gonna complain. Like I said in my preview, tomorrow it's not about play Yildiz, play Chiesa, because they were all like everybody was playing rubbish as well. So tomorrow it's just show some desire and somehow find a way to win that game. Stay compact and nick it. That's what we need to do tomorrow. Like we have no other option. We have absolutely no other option because we're not gonna go to the Olimpico and outplay Lazio. That's just 100% not gonna happen. It's impossible that we will go to the Olimpico and outplay Lazio. It's just not gonna happen. So um it is what it is. I guess I'm not looking forward to that game one bit at all. Just at all. I'm not looking forward to that game. Um, if you haven't liked the video, people, please do hit that like button because I'm not gonna go on very long. I still need to go out in a minute. So it is what it is. I just wanted to talk about Bremer because there's actually no time. Tomorrow we play. Sunday, it's basically the post day, and Monday it's another preview because we play on Tuesday again against Lazio in the Coppa Italia. So it's an extremely busy week. We play Lazio twice. That usually happens, with the Coppa Italia ties. For some reason, we always end up playing them the week before or something like that. Even with Fiorentina a couple of seasons ago, Inter, Lazio as well in the past. So, but tomorrow, I think tomorrow is more important than the Coppa Italia because for the Coppa Italia, you have two games. So whatever happens on Tuesday, you still have a return leg. What happens on tomorrow, we don't have a return leg tomorrow. If we lose tomorrow, it's a disaster. Like if we lose tomorrow, I will come on and say we're 100% certain not going into the Champions League next summer. If we lose tomorrow, it's done. For me, it's done because we are gonna lose. If we lose against Lazio, you're gonna lose against Milan. You're gonna lose against Roma. You're gonna lose those games. You're not gonna beat Fiorentina and Torino. And if you look at the other schedules, it's much easier. So we need to win tomorrow. Like even a point, it's not enough. Like these players are mentally so weak that if they need to look at the standings when they go out on the pitch next week to at home against Fiorentina, and they look at the standings table before going out on that pitch, and probably other teams would have played in front of us before us, and let's say we lose tomorrow, the other teams win, it's 6 points, and let's say they play ahead of us when we play Fiorentina, it's 3 points, and these players need to go out on that pitch knowing that if they don't win against Fiorentina, the lead is 3 or 4 points. They will they will collapse completely. Like if we didn't already collapse, one win out of eight, you're gonna see something from an epic proportion. So that's why they cannot lose tomorrow because this team is fragile, and somehow, some way, they will need to find a way. If we lose tomorrow, it's gonna have a big impact for the rest of of the game of the games. Oh yeah, 100%. That's what I said. That's what I said. It's gonna have a massive impact on the remainder of the games. But that's it for me, guys. I need to head out. I'm actually already over time a little bit. Just a quick live to discuss what happened with Bremer because again I was not home. Will not be home later today. I will be back live tomorrow post game, so stay tuned for that. Also match reaction Sunday, post day live, and Monday preview again, and then Tuesday we go. We'll do it again against Lazio. So thanks everybody for joining. It's midday. I know it is. Like the video on your way out, or if you're rewatching, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification, close to 5K, and I will see you guys back tomorrow live for hopefully hopefully a win. Hopefully a win, so we can have some breathing space when we look at the standings, because we need that Champions League money so desperately, like you cannot even imagine. It's not about, I don't want to watch Europa League because I don't want to watch Europa League, but we need that Champions League money desperately. So we will see. We will see tomorrow. Again, thanks for watching, people. Subscribe, and I will see you guys later on. If I can close out the live stream, to be honest. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Ciao.